Real Clear Politics has been one of the premier polling aggregators for several years. In this video, we're going to take a look at the 2024 presidential election map based solely on their averages. And we'll start by taking a look at the national polls. Real Clear Politics has moved their polling aggregator to realclearpolling.com if you'd like to follow along. Donald Trump leads Joe Biden by 1.8% nationally, which should translate to an Electoral College victory. Republicans won the Electoral College without even winning the popular vote in 2000 and 2016. However, I don't see a scenario where Biden loses the popular vote and still manages to win the Electoral College. So let's start over in Washington, as state Democrats historically win. We have two polls and they show Biden up by an average of 10. This is safe Democrat. In Oregon, two Emerson polls show Biden up by an average of 12.5%. That's another safe state for him. In California, we have two polls from this calendar year, and they show Joe Biden up by an average of 19.5%. Safe Democrat. Alaska doesn't currently have a page on Real Clear Polling, but polls posted to 538 show Trump up by an average of 8. This state is likely for Donald Trump. And believe it or not, there hasn't been a single Hawaii poll ahead of 2024, but we know it's a safe Biden state. Let's move on to Arizona, one of our battleground states. Biden narrowly won it in 2020, and an abortion ballot initiative could really drive turnout for Democrats. However, recent polling heavily favors Donald Trump, who leads by an average of 4.5%, putting Arizona in the lean Trump column. This would be a huge flip for Trump in 2024. Trump's lead is even more impressive in our next battleground state, Nevada. Trump leads by an average of 7%. I don't think Trump's margin of victory will be that high, but it's not unreasonable to think Nevada flips in 2024 now that the GOP is embracing early and mail-in voting. A 7% lead puts Nevada in the likely Trump column. We only have one poll out of Utah, and unsurprisingly, it shows Trump up by double digits. Utah is a safe state for him. And we also only have one Idaho poll, and it shows Trump up by 29%. That's another safe state. And there's one poll for Montana, which shows Donald Trump up by 21. Don't be fooled by the competitive Senate race. Montana is a safe state for Trump in the presidential election. Our one poll from Wyoming has Trump up by 53%. Wow, that's a safe state for Donald Trump. We have two Colorado polls from late 2023 showing Biden up by an average of 5.5%, just sneaking it into the likely victory column. I expect Biden to do better than this on election day, as Colorado has definitely shifted blue in recent years. We only have one poll out of New Mexico from the past 6 months, so not the most reliable data point to go on, but it showed Biden leading Trump by 8%. That's a pretty reasonable margin of victory expectation for Biden in 2024, and it puts New Mexico in the likely victory column. In Texas, Trump leads in the polls by 8.5% on average. That's about 3 points better than he did in 2016 and 2020, and it lands Texas in the likely Trump column. We've only had one Oklahoma poll in the past year. It was conducted this past October and unsurprisingly showed Trump ahead by nearly 30 points. It is a safe Trump state. Similarly, we've had one Kansas poll, but it showed Trump up by 16. This is another safe state for Trump. Nebraska is a fun state. It's one of only two states that awards 2 at-large delegates to the winner statewide and 1 delegate to the winner of each congressional district. There has been one Nebraska poll conducted by Emerson, and it showed Trump leading by 16. We know that Trump will win Nebraska at large, as well as the 1st and 3rd congressional district. However, Joe Biden managed to win the 2nd congressional district in 2020 by a pretty decent margin. This poll doesn't break down the sample by congressional district. Believe me, I checked the spreadsheet, so I'm going to put the 2nd congressional district in the tilt Biden column for now. In South Dakota, we have one poll, and it has Trump ahead by 22. It's a safe state for Trump. Similar story in North Dakota, one poll, one massive lead for Trump, and another safe state. Let's move over to Minnesota, a state Democrats have won in every presidential election since 1976. However, things are looking pretty tight right now. Joe Biden leads by an average of just 2.6%, quite a bit lower than a 7% margin of victory in 2020, landing Minnesota in the lean Biden column. Moving over to Iowa, a state that loves Trump almost as much as Emerson loves polling their general election matchups. In fact, Emerson is the only pollster to make RCP's cut, and they've consistently found Trump ahead by 8 to 10 points, making Iowa a likely Trump state. We have two recent-ish polls out of Missouri, and they show Donald Trump leading Joe Biden by an average of 15. Missouri is a safe Trump state. Emerson has also gone to the trouble of polling Arkansas, finding that Trump holds a lead north of 30 points, another safe Trump state. No polls made the cut for the RCP aggregator from Louisiana, but an Echelon Insights poll from about 5 months ago found Trump ahead by 15 points. Louisiana is a safe Trump state. Echelon Insights also surveyed Mississippi, finding Trump ahead by 18 points. It is a safe Trump state. And the same is basically true for Alabama. We have one poll, and it's from WPA Intelligence, finding Trump leading by 25. Bringing us to Georgia, a state that will actually matter in 2024. While Joe Biden managed to pull off a very narrow victory in 2020, current polling looks very good for Donald Trump. Trump leads by an average of 7.2%, even surpassing the 50% mark in a recent Fox News poll. That lands Georgia in the likely Trump column for this video. Winning Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia will put Trump in a very strong position to win the Electoral College, but there are still plenty of states left on the map. And before we move on to Florida, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us reach more people. There has been a somewhat surprising lack of polling out of Florida, but the one recent poll we do have shows Trump up by 10, technically putting Florida in the safe Trump column for this video. That feels a bit optimistic, but we have seen Florida take a sharp right turn in recent years, and Trump now is the full support of Governor Ron DeSantis. Moving up the East Coast to South Carolina, we have two old polls conducted by pollsters who don't make the cut to be included in the RCP average, but both showed Trump up by 12. No surprises here, South Carolina is a safe Trump state, but North Carolina should be a bit more interesting. It's a state Trump narrowly won in 2016 and 2020, and it's a state the Biden campaign wants to try to flip in 2024. But polls suggest that won't be an easy task for the Democratic Party. Morning Consult has been consistently polling North Carolina, and their most recent result puts Trump up by 10. Looking at the trend over the past 3 months, Trump has been steadily improving. I think making North Carolina safe for Trump is a bit silly and unrealistic, so I'm going to put it in the likely Trump column for now. The average of the 4 Morning Consult polls comes out to a lead of Trump plus 8. Less analysis is needed for Tennessee. We have 2 polls showing Trump up by an average of 24.5%. It's a safe Trump state. And in Kentucky, we have 1 Emerson poll. Trump leads by 29, another safe Trump state. Like Minnesota, Virginia is another state where Biden's numbers aren't quite as strong as they were in 2020. Despite winning Virginia by 10 in 2020, current polls show him leading Trump by just 4.4% right now, landing Virginia in the lean Biden column. Virginia and Minnesota are states Biden absolutely needs to hold on to if he hopes to get reelected in 2024. But West Virginia will not be competitive. We have 1 poll showing Trump up by 36. It's another safe state for him. Before we get to the Midwest, let's bang out these East Coast states. Most of them will be safe for Biden, but there are a few exceptions. In Maryland, we have 2 old polls out of Gonzalez Research. They showed Biden up by an average of 21.5%. Maryland is safe for Joe Biden. It has been well over a calendar year since our last polling out of Massachusetts, which means there's no RCP page. But from 538, we can see that Biden was consistently leading Trump by at least 20 points. Massachusetts is safe for Biden. Rhode Island is another state without an RCP average. Polls from more than a year ago showed Biden up by an average of 14. Rhode Island is safe for Biden. And there actually hasn't been a single poll from DC, Delaware, or New Jersey for the 2024 election cycle, but we know these states are safe for Joe Biden. And it has been more than a year since our last Connecticut poll, but Biden was leading by an average of slightly more than 10, so we're putting it in the safe column. And there's also no polling out of Vermont, but it's a safe state for Biden. Thanks for sticking through that stretch. Now we're going to get into the more interesting states. Trump showed some signs of weakness in the recent New Hampshire primary, and Joe Biden is currently in a pretty strong position to win the state. Biden leads Trump by an average of 8%, putting the Granite State in the likely Biden column based on the current RCP average. It's only 4 electoral votes, but in a race this close, every competitive state matters. Like Nebraska, Maine awards 2 at-large electoral votes for the winner statewide and 1 electoral vote for the winner of each congressional district. We do have one Maine poll, and it didn't make the cut for RCP. However, it's posted on 538 and it shows a pretty tight race. Donald Trump is well ahead in the 2nd Congressional District, while Joe Biden is well ahead in the 1st Congressional District. Unsurprisingly, this translates to a narrow Biden lead, as the 1st District has a slightly larger population and stronger partisan lean. We're going to call the 2nd Congressional District safe for Trump, the 1st Congressional District safe for Biden, and Maine at large tilt Biden. I do expect Biden to do better in November, but I'm just working with the polling data at my disposal. New York traditionally isn't a competitive state in presidential elections, but a recent poll out of Siena shows Joe Biden ahead by just 9, landing New York in the likely Biden column. I would be shocked if Donald Trump managed to flip New York, but the Democratic Party definitely showed signs of weakness with their poor performance statewide in the 2022 midterms. Moving over to Pennsylvania, one of the most important swing states of this election cycle, there have been several recent polls, and the RCP average shows an incredibly tight race. Right now, Joe Biden leads by an average of just 0.3%, putting this in the tilt Biden column. That's a crucial 19 electoral votes for Joe Biden, but Trump is clearly within striking distance, and this small of a lead is well within the polling margin of error. Meanwhile, Ohio is looking more and more like a Republican stronghold. In what was once the bellwether state, Trump holds an average lead of 9.5%. That's better than his margins of victory in Ohio in 2016 and 2020. Ohio is a likely Trump state based on the current RCP average. Moving west to Indiana, another strong state for the GOP, we have one poll which shows Trump up by 19%, making it a safe Trump state and bringing him to 268 electoral votes. Trump just needs one more state to win the Electoral College, but he's not going to get there in Illinois. Democrats have won Illinois in 8 consecutive presidential elections, and we have one poll from the past year which showed Biden up by 9%, far less than his margin of victory in 2020. For the purposes of this video, a 9-point lead puts Illinois in the likely Biden column, but this is a state he'll certainly win in 2024. Now let's head north to Wisconsin, where we have an extremely close race. If you watched my last Electoral College map video, you know I had Wisconsin in the tilt Biden column. But recent polls put Wisconsin back in the tilt Trump column. Trump holds a lead of 0.2% in the RCP average, certainly not the most commanding lead, but it would deliver Trump Wisconsin and an Electoral College victory. And for good measure, Trump currently holds a commanding lead in Michigan as well. He's up by more than 5% based on the current RCP average. A 5.1% lead puts Michigan in the likely Trump column, not something I expect to hold up as we get closer to the election, but it's something that's definitely cause for concern for the Biden campaign. Based on RCP averages, Trump would currently win 293 electoral votes. He's winning all the traditional swing states with the exception of Pennsylvania, and appears to be bringing Minnesota and Virginia into play in pursuit of a potential landslide. Do you think these numbers are going to hold up? Let me know in the comments section down below, then check out my next video to see what the polls currently say about the Senate races.